Welcome back to another video. In today's video, I'm going to be covering a few different things, some blue team tools with some red team stuff, more particularly around the antivirus, evasion, and things like that. I came across a really interesting project on GitHub, and here it is, Orca. And I wanted to test this out, and I haven't uh, deep dive into it too much, but some preliminary tests and looking it over, I thought this was really cool on how it goes about evading certain antiviruses and things like that. So I wanted to test this out with PowerShell Empire. And before I go any further, this video is just for educational purposes only. I'm going to skip a lot of steps, so I don't want to give the entire layout on how the project, is compiled and whatnot. But I will go over some tools that I'm using to kind of look at what's going on with this certain TerraLDR and how it goes about evading antivirus and stuff like that. I want to actually show it with Defender and then show it also with Elastic Agent. If you're not familiar with Elastic Agent, it's really cool. It's like a extended solution for network data, Windows event log aggregation, with also some really neat features as you can enable the Elastic Agent to act as primary antivirus. So I think the Elastic Agent is like really cool. The way that Elastic's going with this is awesome. But I also want to test it out and see if we can find any like IOCs when we execute a payload such as this one from this project. So shout out to Orca, really cool project. Yeah, let's kind of dive into it. So here I already have my Elastic scene set up. And if you're not familiar with it, there's plenty of videos and tutorials. Actually, I think IPSec made a recent video on how to stand up your old Elastic scene with Elastic Agent. And this kind of works in tandem with a thing called Fleet. So when you install the Elastic Agent on your instance where Elastic and Kibana are being hosted out of, you can have your Fleet server with its own policy, and then you can also make your own policies with your Windows endpoints and install certain integrations such as Windows Event Collecting, or you can install the endpoint security. And once you do that, you can go in and to the advanced settings and do prevent or detect and things like that. And also, if you have a license, you can use the more advanced features as well. And also, you can go down here and register the Elastic Agent that's on the endpoint as the main antivirus. But right here, we have actually Defenders acting as the main antivirus. So we're going to test this out, and we're going to use PowerShell Empire. This is 4.8.1. So it recently was just dropped. So right now I have an HTTPS listener going right now. And I'm going to use shellcode for Windows. So it's really simple. I won't dive too deep into the nuances of setting up Empire. You can do your own research and go about it that way. But I'm going to go ahead and use a loader for shellcode with the project that Orca has. And we'll go ahead and do this. And we'll set listener HTTPS. And then we'll set out file as test.bin. And we'll go ahead and generate. And then once that's generated, I'll copy it over to my Python listener, where I'm serving everything up out of. And oops, go back here and get rid of all this. And cool, I have that there. So let's go back over to our Windows endpoint, and we'll go ahead and compile the TerraLDR with our shellcode for Windows. And we can go right here and just do a quick refresh. We can have the test.bin. So let's see if Defender catches us downloading this test.bin file. See what happens. No alerts at all. So we'll go to folder. And what we'll do is we'll copy this to our directory. where the project is at. And we'll go here, releases, and there we are. And then we will compile, or we'll produce the payload, right? Actually, we need to produce the data file that will be used with the project, I believe. And there we are. So we should have a file that we're going to need. This data file right here. Let's go back over and we'll copy this real quick. And we'll paste it here and replace the file. So that's good. And then we will build it with the test.bin. And once that's done, we'll have a Terra payload or a Terra binary. And what I want to do is I want to place the actual binary on my desktop to see if Defender alerts. So what we'll do is we'll come back to here and we'll place this. We'll just rename it good stuff. And we'll place it right here and see what happens. So nothing just yet. Okay. So let's go and see if we can execute. Good stuff, right? Let's go ahead and clear the terminal real quick. And let's check back just to ensure we have no agents. So we can actually go and kill all of these. Right. Agents right here. Good. All right, so no callbacks. All right. And here we are. And let's go ahead and execute and see what happens. So I have process hacker, as you can see right there on the right. And we'll dive a little bit deeper into that, see if we can find the IOCs on what is actually happening. And before we do that, it looks like the project is targeting settings sync hosts for process injection. So that's something we'll look at a little bit deeper if we can look at any logs or whatnot. So let's go ahead and have no callbacks right here. And let's see if Defender screams at us. So down here we see good stuff. Let's look at properties real quick. And as you can see, we have a callback for our agent. So we do agent and we do interact. And do a quick who am I? And we should see the user that we are. If it calls back, if it hasn't blown up. And let's go back over here. It looks like perhaps it may have hung up. Let's exit out of that real quick. And we haven't got any tasks back. Let's look at agents one more time. So it looks like it died on us for some reason. So not a foolproof payload, but nonetheless. And it looks like it stopped there. Okay. And let's get agents one more time. Yeah, so it looks like it died on us. So let's go ahead and kill all. And let's run that one more time to see if, I don't know, Defender hits on it again. And let's go do that. So setting sync host, I saw that pop up down there. Looks like it was targeting that that process. And we do have another callback. And no alerts from Defender at all, which is quite interesting. So you can see it's still running. And we see goodstuff.exe right here down at the bottom. And we have no alerts from Defender at all, which is quite interesting. So it looks like the project is working as expected. Payload encryption using RC4, process injection, targeting and setting sync host. and PPID spoofing. So that's pretty interesting right there. And stealthy remote process injection for chunking. Also very interesting. Let's go back over here to our Elastic seam. We'll go to dashboards and we'll look at detection and response. And we'll view alerts. And we have no open alerts, so Elastic was unable to catch anything malicious occurring. So that's pretty interesting right there. Let's see if we can put Elastic into antivirus and prevention mode, or actually let's put it in detection mode. So if you go down to Fleet, you can click on Fleet right here, and you can click on your integration. You have your agent policies. So here's your agents and your agent policies. So here I have an agent policy for Windows security. And right here, I can also click on endpoint EDR, which I named my integration policy. And we have, it's in detection mode, but we didn't receive any detections. And here we can go ahead and register as antivirus. And we can actually save this integration and it'll deploy to our endpoint. So as you'll see here in a moment, Elastic Agent will kick in and it will take over as antivirus on our endpoint, and Defender will kind of take a back seat, as you can see right there, right? And so let's click here, virus and threat protection. So just go to home and you can see virus and threat protection. Elastic Agent is actually acting as the antivirus right now. And let's go back and see if the agent is still in the queue, and it is, it's still there. So nothing's died just yet. You can see that the process is setting sync host, which is actually quite interesting. So let's take a look at Elastic, and if you are aggregating, tens of thousands, millions of logs, it can be overwhelming looking at all these logs, kind of like a sea of them, right? But you can go to here to overview, and if you're trying to like baseline your environment, you can go to view events, and here's the last 15 minutes, and you can actually look at a thing called uncommon processes, and you can slowly sift down and take a look at everything that's happening on your endpoint to determine if something is out of the ordinary or abnormal, right? And here we have system settings.exe, cl.exe, and so on and so forth. And you can kind of just slowly make your way through everything and see if you have anything that might be suspect. So you kind of just slowly make your way, and this might be exhausting for an analyst. As you can see here, we have goodstuff.exe. So what we can do is we can filter for this, and yes, we do have it. And we can actually go back to events. And even though there were no alerts from Defender, but we have our Elastic Agent on the endpoint, we can look at uncommon processes and kind of determine, hey, what's going on with certain particular processes. And here we have goodstuff.exe, and we can see there was some interaction with some libraries right here, right? And we can actually take a deeper dive into looking what other interactions were, like certain DLLs that it was, using, it was loading. There's kernel 32, which is, pretty cool. Probably in TDLL, yep, right here as well. And we can get hashes and things like that from the binary to kind of formulate any additional hunts across our enterprise. So are we seeing the same binary throughout other endpoints, right? Or these other actions. And let's look at this one, create remote thread. So let's scroll down a little bit further, and we're looking at goodstuff.exe, and we can span this out to 50 rows. And here we have sysmon on the endpoint. So here we have a rule name, process injection, goodstuff.exe. And we can look a little bit deeper at any of the more granular logs that sysmon may have for us to determine if there's something else that's going on that might be of concern, right? And here you can see the target image, settings sync host.exe. For process injection, I guess it's the project, outlines, it injects into system or settings sync host.exe, which is interesting. And here's a create remote thread detected. So pretty cool. And we can also take action and investigate in a timeline. And if we want to go ahead and do that, we can, and add any other correlation events to this and make it to like a case, right? So let's go back and see if we can execute this payload again and put it into prevention mode to see if Elastic actually prevents this particular binary from executing on the endpoint, right? So in order to do that, let's go back and let's look at Fleet one more time. And let's just confirm we're going to leave this as it is. Let's go back to our agent policies, Windows security, endpoint EDR, and let's put it into prevention mode and save integration, and we'll deploy that to our endpoint to prevent any malicious activities from occurring. And let's just go ahead and do a test real quick. Cats, GitHub. And let's see if we can actually pull something down to see if Elastic Agent will actually prevent any malicious binaries from executing or being downloaded onto the endpoint. So sure, let's just grab this one and let's download it, right? And I'll go over here. So here we do have an alert, and we'll go to downloads and we'll just say keep dangerous, download, keep anyway. And we'll see if Elastic Agent kicks in to say, hey, probably shouldn't have that. Let's go here, release, downloads, and yeah, so it did not successfully download the Mimikatz binary because, well, it's heavily signatured and Elastic Agent's doing its role here. And we can actually go back here to Windows Security, or excuse me, our Elastic SIEM, and look at alerts. And we'll see if we get any alerting. Let's get rid of this goodstuff.exe and refresh. Let's go to dashboard, detection and response. And let's see if an alert actually comes in. Let's refresh. I'm hoping that this pops up in here. Might take just a moment. While that's going, let's look at our agents. We still have our setting sync host process calling back to our C2. And let's refresh here. And I don't see any alerts just yet. Nothing yet at all, really, which is interesting. I was hoping that we would actually get an alert coming in to our SIEM saying that it blocked the Mimikatz from being downloaded. Let's try that again. And let's keep it. And so here we go. Okay, so here we are. Prevented Mimikatz.exe from being downloaded. Probably did that wrong from the get-go. Here we have no Mimikatz. And let's go back to alerts and refresh. And here we do have an alert right here, malware prevention alert. So let's click on this and we can see chrome.exe with some libraries being loaded. And yeah, so it looks like Chrome was being prevented from downloading something. Let's look at this one right here. Chrome.exe again. And if we want to dive deeper, we can actually probably do some initial or some additional hunting to see exactly what was being downloaded. Look at sysmon logs to determine that, right? So we do indeed see that Elastic Agent is doing its job, right? Now let's do the shellcode test one more time, and we'll do a different actually, we'll stick with the same one, and we'll get rid of this. You know what? Let's do this. Let's get rid of good stuff and see if Elastic alerts on that. So no alerts there. Okay. And let's take our good stuff, and what we can do is we can compile the project again. And so we'll go here back, and we'll build it one more time. And while that's building, you see that we have it. We'll just name it stuff. And Elastic doesn't seem to be too concerned about it. We'll place that onto our desktop, and nothing yet at all. And let's execute, right? Stuff, right? And we saw it interact with settings sync host, but it seems that Elastic in prevention mode and acting as our antivirus is taking a back seat for sure. And we have another agent check back in. So see, we have two. Quite interesting how this project is able to evade both Defender and Elastic Agent. I wouldn't put too much stock into it because, well, this is a cat and mouse game. New project drops, you know, vendors, antivirus vendors or EDR vendors pick up on signatures, you know, from samples and whatnot, and create new detection mechanisms to be able to alert on certain binaries. But it would seem that Orca's project is doing a fine job at evading using these particular methods. I'm going to dive deeper into everything that's going on here, but yeah, I think this is a pretty cool project, and hey, this is just for educational purposes only. You know, even though we aren't receiving any alerts from the binary executing and calling back out to our C2, we still could formulate, hey, are there any uncommon processes in the environment, and collect hashes, do hunts across our SIEM to do any additional, you know, triage or whatnot. So yeah, if you have a chance, check out Elastic Agent with your SIEM using Fleet integration. Also, you know, really cool stuff that Elastic is doing and everything like that. It seems to be, for the most part, preventing the normal malicious downloads such as Mimikatz and whatnot. But overall, yeah, there's a lot to be had with Elastic Agent. I'm sure with more tuning, we'd be able to pick up on particular process injection techniques such as what Orca is doing here with this project, how it's using syscall unhooking and process injection and PPID spoofing to evade certain antiviruses. So yeah, I hope this video was informative and pretty cool to see, you know, C2 Empire interact with some real nifty evasion techniques. And if you guys want to see more, just hit me up. Like I said, shout out to Orca, really cool stuff. Shout out to Empire for a really cool C2 as well. And hope to catch you guys in the next video. Take it easy.